Okay, 50 past the hour with your tropical update. We're going to give you an update of the recap of this breaking records left and right this 2020 hurricane season right here. Hurricane Laura and Mark, a couple questions. Which one would be named first, Tropical Depression 13 or Tropical Depression 14? Then I thought maybe they would switch in order. I thought Marco would be Tropical 14 and Laura would be 13 if they switched it around, but it was actually in order. Laura was named at 9:30 in the morning and Marco was named at 11 p.m. 13 and a half hours later, that same exact day, that was the first time this year that we had two twin hurricanes form both on the same day. There'd be a Fujiwara. We were thinking that one could get close to each other and spin around each other, because at first they thought they were going to both make landfall on the same exact day, but they were 2-3 days apart, so they weren't close enough for a Fujiwara. And then will they both make landfall on the Tuesday? Marco made landfall on Tuesday and Laura made landfall on Thursday morning. And then also, where will Jim Cantore be if there's two different tropical storms, which we know he's going to be at the stronger one, and he was with Hurricane Laura. He was in New Orleans. And then he moved to Lake Charles, Louisiana. That's where it made landfall. Why was it named Tropical Depression 13 and 14 when 12th in the alphabet is L and 13th in the alphabet is the M? Because we thought maybe because there was one that formed and it never reached criteria to be a tropical storm. Okay, and then after Laura and Marco, that was the most interesting storms of the year, because it was like the first twin storms of the year. Then we had Nana. It turned into Julio when it crossed into the Pacific, when it went over Belize, and it formed September 1st, beating the old record of Nate in 2005 by 4 days on September 5th of 2005. And then after that, 6 hours later at 5 p.m., we had Tropical Storm Omar off the coast of North Carolina. It was not a big deal. It was just a fish storm. It beat Ophelia in 2005 by 5 days on September 6th. And then after that, we had Tropical Storm, which turned into Hurricane Paulette. It hit Bermuda. It formed at 11 a.m. September 7th, beating Felipe in 2005 by 10 days. And directly on September 14th, a Category 2, 105 miles per hour since Gonzalo. Gonzalo went directly over them a few years also. And it was eerie. The eye was like a stadium effect in the sky, like a donut. You could look up and it looked like a donut with the clouds, and it went from like 100 mile per hour winds down to 0. The birds were chirping, the streetlights came out. Depending on the day or night, if it was daytime, you would see the sun for a few minutes, or if it was nighttime, you could see the stars. And then the back end of the hurricane, the second half, it got crazy. It went back up to 100 miles per hour again. And then Bermuda's only like 15 to 18 miles long, and it went directly over them again. And then weakened, and then it formed 15 days later. It reformed on September 22nd, 15 days later. And then after that, we had Tropical Storm Renee. That was like Tropical Storm Omar. It was no big deal. It was just in the middle of the ocean like a fish storm off the Cape Verde Islands. It formed at 5 p.m. at September 7th, 6 hours after Paulette, beating Major Hurricane Rita in 2005 by 11 days on September 18, 2005. So you could see the pattern. We're breaking records of 2005 all this year. This was the second biggest one after Laura. Then we had Sally. This one went into the Caribbean again, into the Gulf, and this formed on September 12th, earliest S-named storm on record, beating Stan in 2005 by 19 days, making landfall in Alabama on September 16, exactly 15 years after Hurricane Ivan. The max winds were 105 miles per hour, 965 millibars it dropped down to. And then after Paulette, we had Trump and Sally. Then we had Teddy, and this followed Paulette's path right over here. On September 14, Teddy formed. It was the earliest T-named storm on record, beating Tammy in 2005 by 21 days. The max winds were 140 miles per hour, Cat 4, and it brushed the Bermuda on the east side as a Category 1, 90 miles per hour. And on September 22nd, 7 days after Paulette just got hit, then they got brushed again with another hurricane 1 week later. And then after that, we had Tropical Storm Vicky. I've never seen a V storm in history, or even a W storm. And Vicky formed 11 a.m. on September 14th, 6 hours after Teddy, earliest V-named storm, beating Vince in 2005 on October 8th by 24 days. And then we had Wilfred formed at 11 a.m. September 18th. That was an exciting day. I was geeking out. We had 3 tropical storms forming that day, and I've never seen us get to the end of the standard regular alphabet. We got to Wilfred at 11 a.m. That beat Wilma, which was a catastrophic hurricane in 2005, which got retired. On October 15th by 27 days, we beat the old record. And then we had Subtropical Storm Alpha. I wasn't expecting this. Alpha formed September 18th, 2 hours after Wilfred at 1 p.m. And it was the first letter in the Greek alphabet, and second time in history since 2005. And that's since 1905 when they started tracking hurricanes. That's the second time in history. Crazy. It only had a 20-30% chance of forming, and it was near Portugal and Spain, which you usually don't see tropical storms in that area too often. And it beat the previous tropical storm Alpha by 34 days on October 26, 2005. And they don't retire the Greek alphabet letters, they just put a star next to them because there's no replacements for them. And this is only the second time in history. The other time was 2005. It's crazy. We had to start the alphabet all over again. And then we had Tropical Storm Beta form. That was the third storm that formed on the same day at 5 p.m. That formed 6 hours after Wilfred and 4 hours after Alpha. Earliest V-named storm in history, beating Beta in 2005. So that was another one forming that day. A twofer in the Greek alphabet. Third one forming that day, which was a triplet storms. And we had 4 tropical storms in the Atlantic at that time.